everything I know. Uh, And today we will be talking about the very practical aspects of Scrum. And uh, and if you don't know the origin of the word Scrum, just remember, just keep this picture in mind, and we will come back to it. What you see on your screen. Uh, some people like just uh, scrummaging, as they call it, in the game of rugby, and they are trying to move the ball forward, and that's where it all kind of the term originated, and it is a very practical implications on how do we view this as a software development. My intro, we already talked about it. There's not much to be shared. I don't have any formal certification, so to say, in any project management or Agile, Scrum, or anything. Uh, what I'm sharing is based on what I have learned through my experience in Microsoft, Amazon, and now currently in Paytm, of what aspects of this development style work, right? Just to set the context, we have about 60 minutes, and then we will have time for Q&A as well. What we are covering today is part one of a series. So today we'll be just going through the very basics of introduction to Scrum and what are the fundamentals that one should know before we go into like how do we adopt Scrum and some of the advanced discussions. So it is possible that some of the questions that are raised today might be more appropriate for the future sessions. So today we will be just looking at the very basics. Uh, while we are doing it, I would love the audience to be participating in the discussion as well. And I know doing it online is a little bit challenging sometimes because we with the microphone access and video access. But first of all, I would love to have videos on from people who can comfortably do so. If you can't do it, then it's perfectly okay. But if you have the video on, then it is usually your participation increases. The second request that I have for the audience is to have something like a pen and paper ready to write and take notes, because if when you are taking notes, you are more likely to retain what you hear, and also it will also enable you to give feedback, a more constructive focused feedback into what you want to do. Okay, so that's the second request: have pen and paper ready. The third thing, before we go into the details of the agenda for today, is that if you are multitasking, you can pretty much drop off. So what I request you to have is 60 minutes of your undivided attention. If you're multitasking, driving, or maybe doing some gardening, some cooking, whatever, right? These 60 minutes might not be very useful for you. So you might rather just like drop off right now, watch the recording later on. But while you are here, make use of your 60 minutes, make it useful for yourself and for everyone in this meeting by being fully present. And as I said, taking notes, keeping your camera on. These are some of the ways I know I stay engaged in online meetings. So I just shared that with you. So strongly recommended that you stay fully engaged in this. Use the chat box to share your questions and thoughts, and that's what I was trying to figure out, how to look at the chat box comments. And okay, now I see it. Okay, so before we start, I would love to hear from you that what is your current exposure, or are you currently using Scrum in an agile development in some form, or you are completely beginner? So you can type like B for beginner, I for intermediate, and E for expert. So BIE, one of these three letters, you can put it in the chat window, please, so that we know, okay, what is the audience that we have. And I think most of you are coming from very rich background, so it would be good to learn from you as well. Okay, you guys can see the screen, right? Can someone confirm, please, that you still see the screen?
Yeah, we can see better to make it full screen.
Yeah. And it is BBB. So most of the folks that are here are B, and then we have a couple of our participants who are coming from an intermediate, and so that's good. Let me just move this here. And the most complicated part of a presentation is setting up the monitors, right? Or setting up the 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 projectors. So now monitors because we are doing it online. So what we will cover today, we will just have some time spent on introduction to Agile and Scrum because there is always some confusion around these two terms. They're very related, but they're different. And then we will talk about how Scrum works, specifically what is its relation with Agile, how it works, what are the roles and activities that kind of define the outline or the contours of the Scrum. And uh, then we will have time for Q&A. But if you have a question at any point of time, feel free to ask that. And others, you are encouraged to answer that as well. So because me answering every question kind of denotes that I know everything, which is not the case, which is definitely not the case. So I would love to hear from you. So I encourage people to ask questions on the chat, and I encourage others to share their perspective on that question as well. And we will have time towards the end for formal Q&A as well. But during the flow of presentation, feel free to ask questions. And I have this the chat window open, so I will be able to look at the questions that are being asked on the forum as well. Okay, so this is our agenda. We will have about, I would say, 50 minutes on this. So if I'm going too fast, let me know. If it is too slow, too boring, let me know. We can talk something else. There are many interesting topics, just like Afghanistan defeated Australia. Much more interesting than maybe Agile. So we can discuss any of that as well. If you guys feel that this is becoming too monotonous, too boring. Okay, let's get straight to work. We said this is a presentation on practical Scrum, but then we use the term Agile. What is the difference? What is the difference between Agile and Scrum? And the thing that I have found to be most useful is if you see Agile as a philosophy, and it has its set of guiding principles. It has its own set of principles that have to be adhered to. So it's kind of defines the framework. It's a philosophy. A Scrum, on the other hand, is a methodology which is based on the Agile principles. And it goes a little bit more into the specific roles, artifacts, activities, how is more described here when you're talking about Scrum. Are there more Agile development methodologies other than Scrum? Anyone would like to take up that question in the audience? Put it on the chat box, please. Other than Scrum, are there any other methodologies which are considered Agile development, and they follow the Agile guiding principles, but they are not Scrum? Exactly. Thank you, Surendra, Faisal, uh, Javeria. So Kanban is definitely a methodology, just like Scrum. And Jira is a tool. And we will talk about the tools. Jira is a tool which kind of helps you implement many of these methodologies. So Scrum is what we use for implementing Agile methodologies for certain use cases. Kanban is another one, which is used for a different set of use cases. Is one better over the other? That depends. I mean, that depends on the situation. That depends on which kind of project you are doing, right? So there is no black and white here. Everything is a contextual that will Scrum work in a given situation? The answer is yes, it might, or yes, or no, it might not. So it just depends on the context or the type of project you are doing. And so before we go deeper into Scrum, what is then Agile? Like we talk about Agile has certain principles and Agile has certain values. You can read a lot about this topic by going to the site Agile Manifesto or just typing this into your favorite search engine or your favorite LLM. These days, people have started using LLMs for searches rather than the Google search, which is a very good sign. You can ask your favorite LLM, ChatGPT or Google, Gemini, that what are the agile principles, and you will get a very good answer. Agile Manifesto says that and this is kind of giving the high level framing at the very top level, that to become agile, you have to value individuals' interactions over process and tools. So it is less about process and tools, more about individuals and their interactions. So teamwork, that comes into play. Does that mean that the stuff like on the right side, process and tools, is that less useful? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Agile clearly says that we value individuals and interactions over any sort of process or tool. Second point, as a part of the Agile Manifesto, is that we value a working software over a very comprehensive documentation. And this you will see again and again, that it is less about comprehensive documentation and more about the working software. The proof, as they say, is in the pudding. It is not in the recipe of the pudding. So if you can make the software work, if your customers are happy, that is what is valued more. Does that mean that we don't do any documentation? No. But if you don't have a working software and all you have is documentation, that's useless. Third point is that we value customer collaboration over contract negotiation. And this point might be a little bit confusing, because when we talk about contract negotiation, it is typically about this much time will be done. And this might be even in the internal teams, like you have a product team or you have a business team who are giving you requirements. Is the focus more on the contract, that when is this feature will be developed, when it will be the timeline, or is it more about the collaboration? Okay. Are we having the collaboration with the customer? Customer can be the end customer or a proxy to the customer. For example, your product manager or your business team, that that you're collaborating with them to solve the actual customer problem. So we value customer collaboration over the contract negotiation. Contract might be in terms of money, it might mean in terms of timelines, it might mean in terms of very specific like screenshots, which what we call as your wireframes. So anything that's kind of a contractual in nature, we will value collaboration over contracts. And what that means is that the team whichever team is agile will respond to change. Customer asks something new, and they will respond to that change because they are ready to collaborate, compared to following a plan because that is what the deadline or some target date that was given. Is following a plan a bad thing? No, it is not a bad thing. We should have a plan, but from the agile perspective, we value responding to change over following a plan. That's what kind of it's the one-line summary is. Everything on the left, agile will value that more compared to everything on the right. So if you are empowering your individuals and enabling their interactions, you are focusing on getting working software, you are focusing on customer collaboration, you are focusing on responding to change, then you are living the agile values, right? Agile principles, very set of similar thing, 12 points that you can find are based on these, and we will talk about that maybe in the future session. But this is something very, very critical, because typically, and I have seen that even in a lot of training sessions, including the YouTube sessions, that they go into agile development or the agile or maybe Scrum right into the processes, and then they don't talk about the core principle of this. So when do we see that a team is agile? And typically you will see that, oh, the team is working in a 2-week or a 1-week or 3-week, whatever. They are working in sprints, and they have daily stand-ups, do sprint retrospectives. Like what else? Can anyone add more? Like what do you feel? When is a team truly agile? I listed 3 things here, but from your perspective, they are doing sprint planning. Okay. Good point. I will add that they are doing working in 2-week sprint. They are doing sprint planning. It is parallel with development. It is outside of the scope of the work. I didn't parse that one. The outside the scope of the work. But essentially, what you are seeing is if the focus is too much on processes and mechanisms, these are not the Scrum. These things don't make you agile. These are important Scrum activities. You might be following Scrum as a methodology, but you might not be agile. And that's one of the main reasons why teams that are doing Scrum fail to get the benefits of what Agile promises to be, because they are following mechanisms, but they are not actually getting to the core of delivering incrementally customer satisfaction, continuous improvement. Yes, these are the things that we should be focusing on when you are actually thinking about becoming agile. And when you are agile, you can very easily adopt Scrum. But if you're not agile, you can be doing Scrum activities, but still not get any benefits. Like, so first thing you do is the team starts doing customer backwards prioritization. The second point is that the team is empowered to be self-organizing. If there is a manager telling everyone, this is what you do, this is what you do, then that's really not empowerment. I mean, the team should be empowered to make decisions. And the third point is that they are collaborating. And I think, yeah, Moinuddin, thank you very much for pointing out that change, that they collaborate with full transparency. If I am a part of an agile team, or if I'm a leader of an agile team, and I am not collaborating transparently, I am hiding half of the information about what is the exact status, what are the exact blockers, or what I am kind of inflating the estimates all the time, then I'm not collaborating with full transparency, which means I might not be agile from the core perspective. It's kind of like religion. You can think of it this way, although I hate to give that simile sometimes because it kind of gets, it has a potential to get misinterpreted. You can be following the some of the rituals of a religion and still not follow the very core of it, right? And that is kind of similar thing is happening in the industry today. There are a lot of people who will follow the rituals, the Scrum rituals, but they are not really ready to adopt the core principles of Agile. And I think, Moinuddin, you had pointed out continuous improvement, delivering incrementally. Yes, exactly. That is the thing which is part of the Agile, being Agile, that you are delivering in small chunks more often rather than planning big releases. Market release is a different thing. I'm talking about from a software team perspective, that you are delivering in smaller chunks, you are doing it more often. 1 week is better than 2 weeks, and 2 weeks is definitely better than 3 weeks. That's how we see it. So if you are able to do daily release, that's from an agile perspective, that's the best. How to achieve that is something that we will cover later on. But the last point that you have is that you are able to retrospect, learn, and improve. If teams are not doing it, then again, they are not truly agile because they are not learning and they are not improving. Learning and improving is a key part of being agile. So if you as a leader of the team or as a part of the team, you are not continuously retrospecting, learning, and improving, then you might not be agile at that point. So we have learned that there are certain activities that are performed. Those are valuable, good activities, but the core of being agile are certain principles that you can read about offline. I have summarized like 5 of them here. When they do these things, then they will be considered agile. Okay. So, but is the agile development only way of developing software? Or agile is not a way, sorry. So I would say it's the Scrum, which is based on the agile principles, only way of developing software. And the answer is no. There are many other useful techniques that are there. And I would like to spend some time talking about this because sometimes this notion comes in that when people are following Agile or they are following Scrum as a methodology, everything else is evil. Like waterfall, they will make the faces, right? You have heard about waterfall and incremental. You have heard about iterative development or a mix of incremental and iterative. Adaptive development, where things are basically you are continuously just adapting to the new inputs that are coming in, or exploratory, which are more like research. So these are different techniques that are there. I have given some references here beyond waterfall and agile methods. You can look up for that. And effective project management, excellent book from Vysotsky, one of the experts in this whole area, that there are many, many techniques that are available. And to say that one of them is best and others are evil is plain naiveness. I mean, that is naivety, that when you start looking at something as this is the only thing that will work. But before we go into that complications, let's maybe uh, try to understand what is incremental versus iterative, because that term is being used multiple times. Adaptive, exploratory, we don't have time to go over, but just think about it. Okay, when you are doing more research oriented work, I have seen that some of the, like the, for example, ML work, when you are doing machine learning, training the model, etc., where you don't really know exactly what is the good end state is. That is where some of the exploratory techniques come into picture. But let's first talk about waterfall, or incremental way of developing software, right? Waterfall or incremental works best when your customer, and it can be an internal customer, external customer, doesn't matter, is having a fully formed idea. They know what they want and they want to develop, and they want you to develop that, right? Or you yourself as a developer have a fully formed idea that this is what I want to build, and you are able to build that in chunks. This is called incremental delivery. In other words, this is also called waterfall, because you will reach a stage in waterfall where you will have a fully formed idea. Okay, this is what I want to build, without actually building anything, right? This person is a customer. He has an idea that I want to have a picture. This is the picture I exactly want. This is the picture of Mona Lisa. Just build that same picture for me. And you as a software guy, and for example, if you're a painter, your job is clear. In this case, incremental delivery works best. You build part of the system, you build some other part, you build three. I just showed 3 iterations. It can be 10, right, for that matter. Credit for this is shared. I just copied this slide from a very famous author. You have an idea and it's fully formed. You want exactly that to be implemented. This is incremental. Waterfall does it this way. And is it useful? Yes, of course, it is useful in a lot of situations. When you're building a rocket, for example, for going to moon, you would rather have everything cleared out. And so that is where some of these techniques are useful. In software, less and less we are going for the incremental delivery, because a lot of time customers don't exactly know what they want. They just have a vague idea. I want a portrait of a woman in a setting which is like more pastoral, in the free, like farms and fields, and they exactly don't know what they want. So you basically show them some high level sketch and then say, is this something that you're looking at? They say, nah, maybe turn the face to the right, or maybe change the direction of the hands, and so on, right? Then you build the first one. Okay, this is the color scheme that you are looking at. Or they say, yeah, this is looking good. And then you start filling in the colors, and the full palette comes out, and this is iterative delivery. Iteratively you are building this thing. Okay, in practice this is good for theory. In practice I have never seen it work, that this is how the full picture, because as you are building this thing, customers, they change their ideas, they change their what exactly do they want, and based on that you will be changing this thing. And as I said, agile is more about collaboration rather than contract. The contract might say that this is what I will build, but collaboration is so the forces you to look for the customer input, change it. So this is where a mix of iterative and incremental delivery kind of works best. That you first share a very high level view, and then you go and build some parts of it and show to the customer, is this color palette looking good to you? And he says, yeah, and this is overall, this is the contour, maybe this is the shape, this is where the trees are, this is how the hands are set up. And then you, as you can see, iteratively the details are getting added, but some parts are getting delivered as well. While in this one, the part number 2 might not be very useful. Part number 1 might not be very useful. And I use this example of Mona Lisa's picture because sometimes when you're talking to non-technical people or people who are not software engineers, breaking that software into pieces kind of becomes a challenge for them. But this is, I think, an example which even software engineers can relate to. That this is, you take some idea, you build it in increments, and then you iterate over. And as you are going, picture number 1 just has some face, and it's a very raw contours of what the trees will look like. By the time you reach number 5, your face is fully developed. Trees are starting to get some colors. Number 6, everything is finished. Your customer is a lot more involved in giving feedback. And that is why this technique of mix of iterative and incremental kind of works better. Different people use different terminology. So you might read, some people call this as incremental, and this is perfectly okay because we are not really debating about what should be the name of this methodology. It's better. I think the core thing is to understand the core idea behind it, that you are involving your customer into figuring out what that exact thing will look like. And for example, if your job is to develop some front end and and a REST API and a database in the back, you can think of like how will you break that into more iterative delivery where customer like front end is getting developed, and then slowly you add like the actual REST APIs in the back, and then you replace the REST API to with and you plumb your REST APIs to a database in the end, rather than having the database ready from the step 1 itself. So if you relate this Mona Lisa picture to your software development process, initially you just have some working UI, which is not really having any true backend. Then you add REST APIs, then you add like a database to that REST API and things. So there's a point from Moin, which is in customer-centric approach. Absolutely. Agility is all about customer-centric approach. And customer is involved in feedback and seeking a waterfall as well. So how Agile is different from waterfall? So Azmatullah is asking a question. Customer is involved in feedback is sought in waterfall model as well. So in waterfall, customer feedback is taken, and then you, based on that, you basically write a 60-page document, which is what the specifications will be. Based on that 60-page document, maybe a 150-page design document comes out, and customer signs on that and say, yes, I agree. This is what you will implement. Then the team breaks that and starts implementing that. The first time customer sees something working is after 6 months, right? That's a typical waterfall model. Is it bad? No, it is not bad. I'm not saying that it is evil. It is useful in many situations. But if you are keeping your customer engaged during your requirements phase in waterfall, in your design phase, during your development, you are giving them releases that you can test and give feedback, you are essentially following iterative and incremental mix, right? Afan, so Azmatullah, did I answer your question? If you are taking feedback at every step, including development, then actually you are not doing a true waterfall. You are doing this mix of iterative and incremental. So Afan is asking, what recommendation do you have for database design and RESTful API in Agile? We will cover that. I think this is today's session will just cover the Agile basics. When we talk about the practical Scrum, implementing a Scrum in your team, that's then we will cover more on that. With that, I think now we will have to switch and go into the little bit more details into it. I think we talked about some of this already, so I will skip this Q&A. Which of these methodologies align best with the Agile principles? So anyone want to take a shot? Like we talked about 3 here, iterative, incremental, and then the mix of iterative and incremental. Which of these are aligning best with the Agile principles? Based on what we saw so far, right? The team is self-organizing, self-prioritizing. They are delivering in smaller chunks. They are delivering with full transparency. They are collaborating with customer. So this methodology that we talked about, which is a mix of incremental and iterative development, that aligns best with the Agile principles. that if you are thinking about how we can be the agile team that is there, that's very customer centric, then think about adopting the a mix of iterative and incremental methodology. And that is what we will learn in the next section, that how do we achieve that with Scrum, right? Just to summarize what we have covered so far, these are the key takeaways for you. If you want to take a screenshot of this, feel free to do that. That Agile is a philosophy. Scrum is a methodology based on Agile, right? Scrum is very specific. Agile is a high-level philosophy which gives you guiding principles. And there are multiple ways to develop software. None of them are evil. I want everyone to kind of remove them from the head that waterfall is bad, or this is good, or this particular thing is bad. Scrum is good, Kanban is bad. None of that, right? It is all depends on very specific situations, and you choose the right methodology for that situation. The last point we talked about a lot, and I am again summarizing it, that a team is following Agile. A team is agile. I think that would be better English, that a team is agile when they are doing customer backward prioritization, they are self-empowered, they collaborate with full transparency, they are delivering in smaller chunks, and they are retrospecting, learning, and improving. That's the key takeaway for us so far. You can't be agile by just following some rituals. You have to be agile internally, and you have to internalize these things. If you are a manager and you are preventing people from collaborating with full transparency, you are actually the anti-agile agent at that point. If you are a software developer and you are holding information and you are not really telling the right status, then you are not being agile. If you are a product manager and you think that what inputs you are getting from customers is useless, and you know the roadmap better than anybody else, you are the anti-agile at that point. And with this, we will move to the, we talked about Agile so far. What is Scrum? So we will talk about what are the Scrum characteristics, and then how we will go about like roles, artifacts, activities that we'll perform. We will not be able to complete the adopting Scrum part today. It is just I think I will set the some basic rules, and then when we connect next, we will talk about the what are the practical aspects of adopting Scrum, because sometimes getting too theoretical too soon kind of prevents the right adaptation of the agile principles. So this is again a better looking picture. And now you know why the term Scrum comes from rugby, where the teams, they get together and their goal is to move the ball forward. And there are the lines that they take the ball forward. Every time the ball drops, then they do it again. And this whole process is repeated. And that's why it's called, like the term Scrum comes from that. But how do I define what is Scrum? Okay, it's a methodology based on Agile. That doesn't really help. Like, can you tell me what exactly it does? So we will talk about some of the characteristics of Scrum, that this is what we want to achieve. And again, keep in mind the picture that we are doing it to achieve the incremental plus iterative delivery, which is very customer backward. That's what we want to do. We will talk about some of the characteristics. Again, taking an example which is non-technical, somebody is building a house and they have to build a garage, and they have to take care of the car, and they have to build a boat and fence, everything, right? And in a typical project, you can relate to it. In your typical project, everything is incomplete. Its house is almost done, but can anyone live into it? No. Can you use this boat? No. Can you drive this car? No, right? So you have almost ready fence, but maybe there is the door or the lock is not there, right? So you have certain things to be delivered. Yet you have to do certain tasks to deliver these things, but everything is incomplete. So Scrum, and I use a very strong term here, hates, almost finished. And if you are seeing in your software project that you are doing too many things in parallel and none of them are finished or finishing, then that is not Scrum. Scrum likes to see things getting finished, like this one. Like you have a house which is complete, all the tasks are there. Somebody can start living in this house. You have a boat which is complete. The fence, maybe not. It is still work in progress. Car, they haven't even started because it was prioritized lower. And you will bring in a car when you have a garage. So that kind of makes complete sense. So in Scrum, what the team does is they swarm to complete the features. Replace house, boat, fence, car, garage with the features that your software that you are developing. And you will see that uh, that delivering end-to-end working features and the team swarming to complete that rather than two people working on home, two people working on board, one on fence, and so on. It is better that everybody goes and works on the top priority thing, which might be the house at that point. Once that is finished, move to the next high priority thing, and so on, right? And if you have spare bandwidth, then you start working on other aspects. So working software, in this case, a living house, is the primary measure of progress. Irrespective of you have 10 things in progress, that is not what Scrum likes. Scrum delivers value. With every iteration, you will have some value added. Uh, and that is sometimes translated as that you will have working software at the end of every release. Uh, I don't think we should discuss that at this point, but we will park that question. But at the end, you should see, are you adding value to the customer, not to your GitHub repository, to the customer, that you are adding value and you are delivering features. So this is the first, I think, the characteristic of Scrum. As they say, if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, then it must be a duck. So we will understand Scrum by some of these characteristics. First thing, Scrum delivers value. It hates incomplete work. Scrum is very simple. This pseudocode, while there's some useful work to do, you identify what you can do in next few weeks, and few, like 1 or 2. Longer you take, it becomes more complicated. So what you can do is next, I would say 2 weeks, you do it as a team, you demonstrate and you say, yes, this is working. You inspect, take feedback, adapt, change, go back. And this loop keeps repeating, right? So you might have a very big backlog of things, but you just identify what is the most important thing to be done. You take that up, whole team works on one feature if possible. If the whole team can't work on one, then they few work on one, second one, then the remaining work on the second. But you don't start too much work at the same time. You are still doing it as a swarming. That's the key term, that they swarm to do it as a team, and then they deliver value, and they repeat this cycle. What Scrum is not, and this is also sometimes get, it is not about like managing people. It doesn't define hierarchies that, okay, this is a manager, and manager has a director, and there are like 10 managers under the director. That is not Scrum's concern. Your reporting structure is not Scrum's concern. And if the reporting structure is becoming a hindrance in the way of team acting in a self-organizing way, or is hindering transparency, then the structure should be changed. But Scrum doesn't manage people. Scrum is not about defining team structures and team hierarchies. Second point, Scrum is not easy. It is not always easy to adopt Scrum. And but if you start with keeping the agility principles in mind, then you will see a lot of value coming out of it. And the third point that is critical here is Scrum is not for everyone. It is not, sometimes, like for example, when you are working on a compliance project from government of India, like when we had, like I had done 4 or 5 years ago, this GST project for Amazon, migrating all of the Amazon's systems to the new taxation system. Was there any scope of customer negotiation? That the government is saying so, and we will go back and tell the government, no, why not? This is what we have built. Tell us what should the next thing? They will just laugh you off and say, like, whatever we have told you, just go implement that, right? And although they don't have they might not have a good clarity themselves, but in typically like compliance type of projects, you don't really want to have that. You just want, okay, this is what is to be implemented, break that into 5 chunks, 5 deliverables, go and deliver it. There's not much in terms of like being agile or like delivering it via a Scrum like methodology. In those cases, just a broken waterfall, like breaking that into pieces and doing it as a waterfall works best, but Scrum isn't for everyone. So if you're not ready to, for example, build self-organizing teams, or you don't, for some reason, you're in your organization, transparency is not something that is there, then you don't have to do a Scrum. I mean, this is something, don't force yourself into the shoes where where your feet don't fit. Okay. Now we will quickly go into how Scrum works. So far, we have talked about the agile principles. We have talked about what a Scrum looks like and some of the characteristics of that, but we haven't really talked about what are the roles, what people are supposed to do. And that's what we will cover next. There are 4 roles defined in Scrum. There is a product owner. Product owner is typically a product manager who will basically understand what is the customer need or what is stakeholder need that is there. You have a development team, you have a Scrum Master and stakeholders. We will go into 4 roles. Other than that, there are no other roles defined in the official Scrum guide. And with these roles, again, the goal is to implement the agile principles and the agile philosophy as closely as possible, right? The first role is of a product owner, that their job is to own and articulate the product vision. They primarily interface between the stakeholders and the dev team. They are the primary interface. Instead of everybody in the dev team going and asking same questions to the stakeholders, we will talk about who are the stakeholders. Usually the product owner is best suited, and product owner also takes decisions on the priority and the roadmap. So it's a very critical role. One single threaded person who takes decision for the product, or if you are a very large project, then some part of the product. It's important to have one decision maker there, because if you have multiple people making decisions, the priorities get messed up, right? And this person, he or she, is responsible for the product vision. That this is my vision, this is my priority, this is my order in which I want to go. The second role is of a dev team. And when I say development team, is basically all builders, QA, developer, security, everybody. So we use the term builders of the team because the dev team sometimes gets misconstrued as the developers only. Like if you're a coder, uh, anybody who contributes to building the software will be part of the dev team. These are the people who actually do the work, right? So the role of if some people ask me what is the role of the managers or like the senior management in implementing Scrum, it's just to keep these people, the builders, unblocked. And sometimes I joke that my job title is Chief Unblocking Officer. If some people want to call me that, my job is to unblock, making sure the team remains unblocked. And these are the people. So if they are blocked, your time is wasted, which means less can be delivered, which means unhappy customers. And that's a vicious cycle that you get into. Third important role is the Scrum Master, which is Scrum Master's main job is to making sure that people are following agile principles and they are not getting too bogged down into the process. So the Scrum Master is definitely a master of the process, is not a slave of the process. They're just telling people, do this because the process said so. But no, they have to bring in that culture of agility and being true to the agile principles. If you are doing Scrum, then of course some of these artifacts and processes become important. The main thing that the Scrum Master, in my opinion, what they do is they enforce this stop starting and start finishing as the mantra for that Scrum Master will prevent people from picking up too much work and then having, like if you have 10 developers in the team, then there are 10 active development stories currently in progress. Scrum Master wouldn't allow that from happening, and they are part of the member development team. They assist everyone in the team. So they are the true example of a servant leader, and they interface with the stakeholders as well, sometimes for status reporting and getting feedbacks and things. But they are the true servant leader, that they will help the team, and they are most instrumental in keeping the team unblocked. So we talked about product owner, the builders, and the Scrum Master. Any questions so far? Is it clear, like what these 3 roles? I know I'm going at a very fast pace because the details of these will be will be shared, like when we will cover that when we go into adopting Scrum. Today, just want to give a high level overview of what these four teams are, what these four roles are. Okay, thank you, Irfan. Last part is stakeholders, which is kind of the I think sometimes most misunderstood, most like misunderstood part of the stakeholders. The question from Irshad is, product owner is as client or customer? I think your question is that product owner is it a part of the client or the customer? No, product owner is part of the team, part of the Scrum team, which is delivering. So if you have, let's say, 10 developer QA, some front-end developers, back-end developers, you have one product owner, and the product owner is going the interfacing with the client or the customer, right? So product owner is pretty much like part of the Scrum team. The question, do we have a QA session? Yes, I would love to leave time at the end, and that's why I'm going through quickly through some of these things. Stakeholders, who are the stakeholders? Anyone who gives you money or gives you resources is a stakeholder. It can be your org leadership, your business sponsor, your client, your end users, because end users is the one which is eventually paying, right? To which in turn writes your paychecks. So these are the stakeholders. What are the stakeholders supposed to do? Is they will have some level of collaboration between themselves so that they can give very high level idea of what is the thing that they want, right? Typically, stakeholders telling exact features is not a very good sign. So they should have some idea about this is what I want to build. But unless, like, for example, when they are the end users, who are telling you that this is like if I'm developing software, for example, in Amazon warehouse, then the person working on that floor is also a stakeholder, right? And they will give you the requirements, and they can be very detailed requirements versus somebody who is maybe a VP of Amazon warehousing, and they will give you very directional thing that my goal is to reduce the cost by 20%. So very different perspectives, but stakeholders are a very mixed lot. And that is why the role of product owner comes in and interfacing with these people, a Scrum Master in keeping them updated about the progress, and so on, right? One thing which I missed here, the Scrum Master part, Scrum Master can be a part of member of development team. Sometimes I've seen people don't hire full-time Scrum Master, but they will rotate the job. So if you have developers who enjoy doing this kind of work, then do it. Otherwise, yes, having a Scrum Master as like a program manager or a TPM typically does the work very well. One question for the audience, some like let's use some of the what we have learned so far. We talked about 4 roles. From the audience, which role do you think is the most important or the critical for the success of a Scrum team? Faisal says dev team, Azmatullah says Scrum Master. Maybe I should wait. I don't want to color the opinions.
Product development, the entire process.
I think, Irshad, you nailed it. All are important. To think that one role is more important than the other is like saying my left leg is more important than my right leg, or my left eye is more important than my right eye. No, all of them are needed, and they all have very critical role to play. The best results come when these 4 collaborate and they work together towards that common goal, right? Product owner has her or like his role to play. The dev team has their role to play. Scrum Master has their role to play. And if you take one out, then of course, if you don't have like a good Scrum Master, things will fall apart. If you don't have a good dev team, things will not get implemented. If you don't have a good product owner, things will get, I have seen things getting choked as in like they don't make progress because product owner is not able to take action or not be able to take decision, right? So all are important. To think that dev team is more important than the product owner or vice versa, that's not right. So we talk about collaboration with the customers, but here collaboration within the team is very critical. So just keep that point in mind. And thanks to everyone for the inputs. we will now cover the Scrum artifacts. We know what these 4 roles are. So we will quickly go into the Scrum artifacts, then we will do a Q&A. And when the next round of this thing is scheduled, we will talk very like in detail about how to do sprint planning, how do we do backlog grooming, and so on. Today, it is just like touching the surface to give you a feeler of what are we talking about. The other option was to have a 3-hour long session, which I think is very difficult to do online. I used to do this as a 3 or 4-hour workshop. But that's like in person, so that I think makes it easier. But doing a 3-hour online session kind of is difficult in my opinion. How is the Scrum Master different than a project or a program manager? The question from Azmatullah, very good question, Azmat. The Scrum Master is, first of all, they are a servant leader, so they don't really enforce their authority. The second thing is the Scrum Master is responsible for bringing the Agile culture into the team, while project or a program manager sometimes are just about reporting status and getting like things and getting the program structure. A lot of good program managers or project managers become very good Scrum Masters because they have that mindset of keeping things unblocked, but it is not necessary. Some project managers I have seen or program managers struggle being a Scrum Master because they don't have that mindset of servant leadership. So there are things that they have to learn. But if they have good, solid rooting in a project management or a program management role, I have seen them becoming good Scrum Master. And there are challenges both ways, which we can. I think when we go deeper into this, we can cover that. But typically, yeah, the project manager can become a Scrum Master, but certain things have to be learned and unlearned. So we will go quickly into the artifacts. The first thing that you will hear a lot, Parvez, I will come back to your question. Product backlog, you will hear that a lot. And that is the best way for the team to stay connected to the customer. And here you can see there's some fancy coloring here that you have a prioritized list of things to be done, which is very customer backwards. It is not saying which particular technology is getting used or what can be delivered faster, and nothing of that. Like you have as a user, I can register. As a user, I can send to one person. This is about email, right? As a user, I can filter by subjects. As an administrator, I can do blah, 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 right? So there are a lot of things that are there. Who is responsible for doing this, of maintaining this product backlog, is the product owner, right? Product owner, if you follow the arrows, at the top are your stakeholders are there. These stakeholders feed into this product owner. Product owner collects the requirements from them. Then this goes to the builders, and the guy with the tie is the Scrum Master, is keeping track of the time. And these are basically everybody who's a builder. They develop some parts of this roadmap. It is shared back to the stakeholders, and they give their feedback. And it is this cycle repeats. This is the product backlog, a single place where we have every customer backward requirement about the product listed down, and the team kind of does the sizing of that and says, okay, this is a very large task, this is a very large story, this is a smaller story. Product backlog is typically organized into a structure so that it doesn't become like too chaotic. Otherwise, you will have like maybe 10,000 items in the product backlog. We structure these into themes. Like I want to have a wish list. Like in this wish list, you will develop that as you will say that this is an epic. And a wish list can have multiple epics. Epics will have stories. So stories are the kind of low-level features that you features as in not of the software features. Customer backward things, like as a customer, I want to be able to save a product in my wish list, or I want to view my wish list. So these are stories, that these are the things that a customer is doing. You are clubbing all of them together into an epic. And excuse me, for your top level stakeholders, sometimes they are just interested in themes, that when is this theme getting completed? For your developers, they are most interested in stories. What exactly are the things that have to be developed? But the key thing to remember here is that we are not talking about the dev or the QA or the tasks here. We are talking about customer backwards. Stories must be customer backwards written. And there is something to be learned, which we will cover in part 2 about how to write good customer stories, which can be organized into epic, which can be organized into themes. Whether it starts from theme epic stories or stories epic theme doesn't really matter. At the end, this is just a way to structure things. And some people go by different like different ways of structuring. I have seen this thing that works, that we do logical grouping of things. And some people do it by customers, that, okay, customer A needs this, customer B needs this. If you're building some sort of a platformish product, they do it like that. And from this, once you have the backlog, you groom this backlog very frequently, maybe every week, and make changes. Then the dev team or the builder team starts a sprint. A sprint, from the field of sports, is basically a very finite set of things that these athletes have to run. There's a definite start and end point. When the sprint is starting, what is in the mind of each of these athletes? What they want is they want to finish this sprint and deliver what is the target. Is basically whatever have been. So if they are not told what is the goal of the sprint or what they have to be delivered, that is then not clearly, that is not a sprint in that case, right? So what do we do in a sprint? We have this roadmap, epic stories, all of that, and that has been done as a part of your backlog grooming. And let's say we have identified these 2 stories that we want to pick in the next sprint. What the builder team will do is they will break that into tasks and to subtasks. And that is what that is part of the sprint planning. When we say sprint planning is not necessarily just going through your backlog and looking into that. Sprint planning is mostly focusing on asking the product owner, what are the top stories that you want? What is the top priority? You take it from there, build it into task, break it into subtasks, and then you start working on those things. This is a high level view. Sorry, this picture is not coming out very well, but essentially what we are saying is you have a product backlog, and from that product backlog, you select some stories, and then you break into tasks and subtasks, and these subtasks are then allocated to individual developers. So something like this. Story 1 has tasks. Some of these tasks are not started yet. Some of them are in progress. Some of them code review, some of them done. You have basically stages defined. You don't have to follow this like not started in progress, code review done. You can have your own sub statuses for the tasks, but the status is for the task. The story is still in progress, right? Story 2, same thing, tasks, and the tasks are assigned. It is not really, at this point, for this view, it is not important who is working on these tasks. That is a separate thing that we will talk about. And then you can say there are certain stories which have been broken into the tasks, and they haven't been started yet, and that they might not be part of the sprint because the team is focusing on one and finishing 1 and 2. So there are 3, 4, 5 are ready to be started, but they are not started yet. So the main focus is on picking stories, finishing them completely, instead of spreading too thin and like just putting maybe 2 devs on story 1, 2 devs on story 2, 1 on story 3, 1 on story 4. A lot of things go into in progress and nothing finishes by these when the sprint ends. So you go by the strict priority order given by the product owner, and then you go and like you just pick up the stories based on that. That is the key thing. That is the that you have to remember, and this is how we kind of achieve that target of having working software, of having more collaboration with the customer, rather than trying to just finish too much, like start too many things and not finishing anything. So keep this in mind. Sprint is all about picking up the top priority ordered things, breaking that into tasks, subtasks, assigning it to people, and then they start working, they start collaborating, right? Shafiq question is, who is responsible to create user stories? User stories are written by product owner. Dev team or the builder team is responsible for breaking that user story into tasks, which will be like create a REST API, create a dev, create a database, create this, create that, right? So product owner, and that is why product owners have to learn writing good user stories, because I have seen user stories written which they will talk about system A, service A will talk to service B, and this will produce data which will be consumed by the front end. I mean, that's not a user story. That's pretty much a design that you have written. So product owner has to learn writing good user stories, customer backwards. And that if you have it customer backwards, then you will be able to prioritize that. So this is about the, when you are starting a sprint, how do you keep track? How do we keep progress track of this? The team meets every day and we call that daily stand-up. And all we cover in the stand-up is what was done yesterday, what is the plan for today, and are you blocked? So everybody, like this task might be spread over 7 devs and QAs, and everybody will just talk about, okay, story 1, who are the 3 people working on it, 4 people working on it. They will tell where are they blocked. Are they making progress or not? Not a very detailed, no design discussions in the daily stand-up, but just everybody provides update, and the Scrum Master is responsible for making sure that whoever says that they are blocked, that after the stand-up, that person is unblocked. And the daily stand-up plays a very critical role in ensuring progress. I think this is, I have condensed like 15 slides into one in this one. So I will give you a very high level view of what is happening, and that will set you up for the next iteration of this agile discussion, which will be scheduled. That first step is to have the backlog refinement, that we refine the backlog. Start from the left. You have a backlog. Product owner defines the backlog. After that, the top of the backlog goes to sprint planning. The Scrum Master is responsible for making sure that the sprint planning things are detailed out and they are broken into the right chunks, into the right dev and the tasks and subtasks for the dev team, QA team, front end, back end, whatever, right? And now we include DevOps in that as well, that DevOps who are associated with that. Then you have a 1 to 4 weeks sprint. Teams define their own length, whether it's a 1 week sprint or 4 week sprint, but the goal is to, the team works on that sprint backlog. Team doesn't look at the product backlog again and again. They will just look at the current sprint backlog, and they will do it every day. They will, once in 24 hours, they will have a daily stand-up meeting. And in daily stand-up, they will just talk about what did I do yesterday, or what is my plan for today or next 24 hours? Am I blocked, or do I need any help, right? And this thing repeats in whatever your sprint duration is. After that, you will have a sprint review with the stakeholders, where you will present the working software to the stakeholders, product owner, Scrum Master. They will take feedback from the stakeholders, make sure that the arrow at the bottom, the feedback is taken right back into the backlog, and the backlog is refined. Product owner decides where this feedback should sit, whether something at the top, so that whatever was delivered last week, it has to be redone, or some fixes have to be done, or no, it will go in lower in the backlog, but something else will have to be done. That's why that's the role of the product owner. But this one slide summarizes the Scrum in one. And how do you do product backlog grooming, backlog refinement? How do you sprint planning? What is the way to run your daily stand-up? How do you do sprint review? How do you do sprint retrospective? These are the questions that we will answer in the next session. So with that, we have covered the, I would say, 30,000 feet view of Scrum. Scrum as a way to implement Agile methodology, Agile philosophy, right? So will this now, would you become like an expert in Agile and Scrum after going through this 50 minutes presentation? I don't think so. Even I am not like an expert in Agile. I don't consider myself to be somebody who's like knows everything. A lot of these things are very situational. So some changes, some tweaks are required. That's what we will cover in the next session. Now we will open up for Q&A. I know it has been quite like 50 minutes of non-stop information. So first question that I had parked was, where does the role or the agile coach fit in here? So agile coach is a recent term that people have started using. And the job of the agile coach is essentially to coach the Scrum Master, the product owner, and the dev team into agile philosophy. So if you have a very effective leader, if you have a very effective like Scrum Master, you don't need a like agile coach. But if you have a team which is learning, then you need an agile coach to help team. But most of the times, in my opinion, unless the team is coming from a very non-agile background, you don't need like full-time Scrum or like agile coaches. In my opinion, the most amount of coaching that is needed is actually for the leadership, for the managers. So yes, agile coaches do help with that. Can agile coach help the dev teams? I mean, not much. But Scrum Master is good enough for that. So agile coaches, if you have, they help with that. Okay, I am sharing a Google form for your feedback as well. This is on the chat. And thanks thanks Saif for giving this recording. And I encourage everyone to join the WhatsApp channel as well for future things. There is this feedback link I just shared. It is in the chat, so please look at that and provide your feedback so that this is also part of the continuous learning and improvement. We will make it better with your inputs. So please do share your feedback. And Qadirul Hassan is asking, when is the next session? I think the question is, when is the next session? It says next session. Asif is asking, what is the scope of it, job scope? Could you please share the general average salary of a Scrum Master? Do we require any prerequisite to be one? The scope of the Scrum Master role, it varies from organization to organization. Sometimes they, like in Amazon, you will see like a technical program manager playing the role of a Scrum Master, and they will also be doing a lot of technical design. In some places, a Scrum Master will be purely a Scrum Master role. They will not have much like a depth into the tech side of it. And the salary, again, varies depending on the role and the experience. People who are like, for example, in Amazon, if you have a TPM, a level 6 TPM can be making like I think close to 80-90 lakhs per annum, and this is like slightly old data, so it might be old. But a level 5 TPM, which are rare these days, but level 5 TPM would be around, I think, maybe 30-40 lakhs. Other places like and by the way, Microsoft, what they call as a program manager. Program managers in Microsoft are actually product managers. So the role of a Scrum Master is typically done by somebody from the dev team, or the or sometimes for the engineering manager will play the role of a Scrum Master. I have very strong reservations against that thing, that engineering manager being the Scrum Master, but that's I think more detailed discussion. So Asif, the short answer to the question is key. It depends on the organization about the job scope, and the salaries also vary. But if you love being a servant leader, if you are good at communication, if you love organizing things, then Scrum Master role is definitely a good one for you. Prerequisite, I think having an engineering background typically helps, so that you can effectively communicate with the dev team, but you don't have to be like 100% techie who can like really design systems, except like in case of Amazon. And desire to be a servant leader, I think that's the key prerequisite. Is agile concept applicable only for dev field, or can it be implemented for support projects like finance, accounting? So for support projects, like I can talk about, for example, in Paytm, you have the technical support, right? There it is, the Kanban is much more suited, because if you are in a support role, you can't really predict what is the thing that will come to you this week. you don't have a backlog of things to be done, right? So typically that is why Kanban works best for those where you are just having a continuous pipeline of things, and you are just working at clearing the top of the pipeline. And some of these tasks might take few hours, some might take few days. So it's very difficult to even predict. Excuse me. So you can be true to the agile principles by adopting Kanban for those like a customer support type of roles. Asif, I see your hand is up. So do you have more question?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
Assalamu
please
alaikum.
go ahead.
So yeah, I want to say like suppose just a graduate. I mean, a person graduated from MC or something. So he wants to be a Scrum Master. So what could be the roadmap? Like, is it easy to go into the field or?
Yeah.
Like.
So generally what you will see is Scrum Masters have industry experience, right? So some organizations do hire like a junior program managers kind of a role, but I have seen very few of those in the product companies. So you can start with the having maybe a developer role, and then go from there, and from there you become like a project manager and like a scrum master. So that's a typical roadmap I have seen. I know that there are like online course, like these organizations, they are offering training courses to make you a project manager. In my experience, I have not seen like a very fresher out of college becoming a project manager. uh, no, actually, that's not right, because in Amazon, when we used to hire college freshers and then they are given a program management track, so that is a track that is possible. Uh, but in generally, I have seen Scrum Masters being more experienced people into the role. So going to other questions, is Agile concepts applicable only for dev field, or is can be implemented to support projects like finance? So this we covered. What is your opinion on CSM certifications? Is good to any certificate better than CSM? Would you suggest? I'm not a good person to talk about certificates. I have no certificates uh, of my own, like other than some like technical ones, like for Azure and AWS and things. But that otherwise did for fun. I mean, not really for. So I'm not a good authority on certifications. As what I have seen is in the consulting kind of setup, uh, there is a lot more value for certifications, certified Scrum Master or certified product owners. If in product based companies, there is a lot less, I think, focus on certifications. But if in a job search, if there are like three people who are equally qualified, then maybe the one with certification might be given a preference. But in the product organization that I have worked with, they don't really, like, I never paid any attention to what certification the person has. So but I'm not saying that the certifications are not good. They are useful in the situations where you are doing like more like consulting type of roles, where you have to present your credentials to the client, and certifications are a good way of do that. What is the difference between SAFe versus CSM, PSM? SAFe is basically a scalable version of the this whole Scrum thing that we talk about, because Scrum assumes a smaller team. If you have a 150 people team and then they are all working in a very large project, right? Think about Windows, for example. Like, how will they work in this kind of a? Will there, like, they wouldn't have a single product manager, right? Product owner. So SAFe is that, and I think these terminologies, SAFe, Agilist, I mean, these are some of the new things that have come up. Don't get bogged down by terminology, and understand the core concept that Scrum Master, and then you have, when you talk about SAFe, then we talk about like Scrum of Scrums and mechanisms that we will cover that. Don't worry. Uh, and the certified Scrum Master. So these are, I think, industry has created these certifications, and uh, so they are for different roles. SAFe is for very like when we have large organizations. And what can the Scrum Master do if he is pushed to do things against the agile ethics by the management stakeholders? And see, that is why the having a more seasoned, experienced leader is important. Uh, it is not that he or she will be forced, right? And sometimes decisions have to be taken maybe for the benefit of customers or benefit of the business. And so I don't think that if I am a Scrum Master, I'll be pedantic about ethics. Sorry, pedantic about the process. If it is going against the law of the land, and ethics in this case, for example, is something like is being forced to do something which is like maybe uh, certifying things which are not really security compliant, there are better ways to handle that, and that is where if you basically have to learn how to engage with even higher level of stakeholders and management to get a clarity on that. Uh, but a Scrum Master typically would not be the one who will take the punches like lying down. They will not fight, but they will make sure that the right people in the leadership know that we are taking this risk, because a Scrum Master here is essentially balancing the risk, right? Agile ethics, I mean, I will say agile principles, and agile principles, they are sometimes you will take you might be taking a shortcut, but if it is happening on a continuous basis, then you definitely need a coach, or your Scrum Master needs to coach your stakeholders to be to learn the value of those, because the reason they are asking you to bypass the agile principles, I think that's what you meant by agile ethics, is because they don't see the value on those. And I think educating them is the key thing. Do you implement a Scrum in your day-to-day task, and is it mandatory to have a certification? A Scrum Master certification, I talked about that, depends on your kind of your field that you're working on and your job. Uh, do you implement a Scrum in your day-to-day task, as in like at work? Uh, yes, kind of that's what we were talking about, how the dev teams are organized to do the task. I personally use Kanban for my personal thing. Like I have a board where I see these are all my things to be done, which are more important. These are in progress, these are blocked, and this is where. So I do maintain that Kanban board for my personal work planning. Otherwise, like day goes like crazy. Like there are 15 things to be done, and there are like 10 people looking to have some meeting or some discussion. So without having a Kanban board, I think it's becomes very difficult. But Scrum for day-to-day task, as in like what the dev team is working on, exactly. If you are a part of a dev team, a builder team, you shouldn't be working on anything which is not part of your Scrum dashboard or your Scrum backlog, basically. I hope, Moin, I answered your question. If you are asking something else, then please do clarify. Then the question from Abu Saleh is, I have 2 years of experience as a developer. Am I applicable from a Scrum Master? See, that depends, right? If you like doing that kind of a work, then why not, right? You can grow into that. You can maybe start taking up Scrum Master responsibility in your team and see. A lot of developers actually don't like doing that. So they want to stay very technical things, because once you start going into the Scrum Master role, the chances of you writing code will be very, very like limited. So you might just want to try it out, discuss with your manager, learn the skills of a Scrum as a Scrum Master, and see if it is for you, and then you can decide. Can you draw the line between a Scrum Master and product owner? Oh yeah, definitely. That should be very clear. They collaborate. They work very closely. I mean, maybe multiple times in a day they will be on a phone call or in a, like or a work at work in a hallway conversations. Product owner is essentially responsible for managing the product backlog and prioritizing it based on the stakeholder feedback. The Scrum Master, on the other side, is responsible for managing the sprint backlog, identifying the risk associated with delivery, that what are the things which will complete, which will not complete, what can we do, and keeping the stakeholders informed about it. So product owner is more focused on the product backlog. The Scrum Master is more focused on your sprint backlog, or the sprint backlog and associated risk and things. Scrum Master has additional responsibility of making sure that the people are understanding the value of agility. For example, if the product owner is not able to write good stories, which are customer backwards, Scrum Master might be the one helping them. Can a Scrum Master become product manager? Yes. I mean, those things are not something that Agile or Scrum philosophy will say, the Agile methodology will say, it depends. I mean, why not? If the person has good credentials, they can talk to customers, stakeholders, they know how to make tough product decisions, and they know how to gather customer feedback, both like using different ways. then they can become a product owner, product manager, but the skill sets are very different. There are, I think, a lot more questions here, so we have 4 more minutes. Sarah, is it okay? We go a little bit over in terms of like a Q&A?
Samabhai, that's also possible. Another is you can share your maybe email and people can connect over there.
Yeah. That's good. I think connecting on LinkedIn, just you can look for my LinkedIn profile and connect there, and we can continue the discussion. I'm thinking that maybe we should form a learners group or something where we can continue to get started with the Scrum. Is there a link to learn basic concepts? So thanks, Sharik, for responding to that. So there are a lot of good things available even on the like Agile Manifesto website. Maybe can I change management analyst become a Scrum Master? I don't know exactly what's a change management analyst, so I wouldn't be able to do justice with this question. So apologies for that. Is more than one stand-up meeting per day is advisable as per the Agile principles? And how a Scrum Master can handle the situation with dev team exceeding 15 minutes stand-up time continuously? That's a very good question, Faisal. I request you to please park this question for the next session, because that's exactly what we'll be discussing there. But in short, I don't advise having more stand-up meeting, because the dev team should be working more on the building software rather than meeting. If specific people are blocked, they can have follow-up conversations and they can be blocked. And the way to restrict the dev team stand-up is having a smaller like a dev team, a smaller builder team is the key. If you have like a 15-member team, then finishing that in 15 minutes is like never possible. And the second thing is just to focus on these 3 questions. What did I do yesterday? What will I do today? And what will am I blocked, right? There's these things, no other like detailed discussions about design or API contracts and so on. Those should be follow up. One experience in QA can I apply from a Scrum Master? Again, I think upskill, learn, and then try to see if you within your job you can take up more responsibility as a Scrum Master. Why not? I mean, these are all in my own career. I started as a dev. I started coding on microprocessors and assembly language. Then I kind of upgraded to C++. From there, it was pretty much on the becoming more and more people management. Then I became a technical program manager. But when I joined Amazon, my manager there thought that I'll be a very good people manager. So with his advice, I became a development manager. And that's how the career progressed. I mean, I have not had a very linear trajectory. So I always encourage people to try out things. If it works for you, go ahead and do it. But be ready to be surprised that you might not like the role or might not like the role. So just try it out and see. What is the fees to?
Sorry to interrupt. Because we have continuous questions coming in.
Yeah.
So maybe I can suggest that we need a volunteer Scrum Master now to make a WhatsApp group, and whomsoever is interested, they can join that group, and maybe you can continue the learnings over there. How does that look like?
That's what I was thinking, that maybe we should form a group and then we can.
We need a volunteer Scrum Master now. So who volunteers to make this WhatsApp group? So share your number and everyone can ping you.
Yeah, I'll make that group. Thank you. This is Sajid.
Great. So please share your number. Your introduction, please.
Yeah. In fact, I have a small startup called Cyberlific, and I'm part of this MFIRD group. So I'll create the group, and then we can just share this group link within MFIRD, and all the attendees can join that.
So what I would recommend is you can share your phone number. Yeah. And then everybody who's interested in joining that group can just please share that on the chat. I have seen others are interested in, so like Azmatullah, Rizwan. So I think
my phone number is 96525 00677. I'll just add
So
it here
good
in the
to-
chat as well.
Okay.
96525.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum Assalam. We'll
Yeah.
take all the questions in the group. So
I mean, this could
let's
be
Yeah.
the
close the
We
last
will
question from
form
my
a
side.
WhatsApp group, so everybody is requested to.
It's about your attendance in MFID's monthly connect, as we are going to have it in our coming week. So it would be really, great if you can attend that event.
Yeah.
We'll be connecting you personally, and we can have connect with you if you can just attend this monthly connect upcoming event.
Yeah.
We have on July 6th, I suppose. I guess.
yeah, you can put in the
Inshallah.
group all the details. And inshallah, following Sunday, that is 7th, inshallah, we'll have continuation of this session by Osama Bhai.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for your energetic participation. And I look forward to discuss with you. Please do fill in the survey form, so that will help me make changes and tweak as needed.
Barakallah feekum, Osama.
Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, inshallah.
So Mir Bhai, I think you are recording, or you have taken down all the numbers, those who wants to join.
In fact,
So-
what I have asked is, hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm asking is, people just text me. That way I can add people to the group. But in addition,
the
what
chat-
we can do is, if we can just get the list of additional mobile numbers, we can just, add everybody from that list to the
In the chat, there are about 15, 20 numbers already. So you can
Okay.
note from there. You can take
Okay,
a
I'll-
screenshot or whatever is
yeah.
convenient for you. You can copy paste.
I'll just
Saba,
try
is
to
it
then-
on your number we have to reach out?
No. Mir Bhai has shared his number. Mir Bhai, can you
Uh,
put one more?
Okay, I'm just taking some screenshots of this, and
Yeah.
I have put my number as well.
No, we can't find it. Like, if you can
It's
just
there.
mention,
Okay.
like, if you
Scroll
can
up.
just
It's there.
mention with the Scrum group, please connect on this WhatsApp number. I mean, if you can mention
Okay.
it, so we'll
I'll
be
do
easily
that.
recognizing that number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just
One sentence
add the
will make it.
Scrum group. Yeah.
Yeah, please. Saif, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Ji, Saif. Saif, I'm Fayyaz. Moin is my official name. I mean, I think if you remember, like you came here in Usman Ghani, we had a chat.
Okay, good.
So,
Ji.
we have a monthly connect on coming July 6th. Okay, this is what I was trying to convey to Sama Saab.
Yeah, that's in Hyderabad, right?
Yeah. So if you can just convey this message to Usama Bhai, and if you can attend that, so
Yeah, you can share all the
more
address, the
people can
timing, all the
get-
details in the group.
yeah,
So he'll
yeah.
need
It's
all
on
the
July 6th. Yeah, after 6 after Maghrib, you can say.
Yeah, so please share in the group, and
Yeah, definitely, I'll do that.
depending on the feasibility.
Inshallah. So, did we have this number, Scrum group number, where we need to connect?
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Next section will be on next Sunday, right?
Next Sunday, inshallah.
30 June.
Yeah.
Okay. Inshallah.
I'll send out the invite. I'll discuss with Usama Bhai when he's available. Inshallah, we'll do that.
Jazakallah.
Meerbai, can you please put your number once more for those who mentioning that this number to be contacted for? So in the chat, I have put the number again, where you have to send a message to join the group.